Hey, my name's Izzy, this is Rolling Virtual Cards, coming at you with another Magic the Gathering video, this time finishing up, I guess in 2 videos, the new cards from the latest set, MKC. We have the Commander cards in this video, followed up by the Clue cards in the next video, okay? So, what are the new cards in Commander? What do they do? What can we see going forward in Commander? So these cards will be legal in Commander, Vintage, Legacy, and then any commons are always legal in Pauper. So let's go over the first guy. We're going backwards because it's the easiest way to show you the cards. So first, we'll go over Cast Eyes of the Glade. This is a red, white, and a green. So hybrid red, white, green. So 2 mana for a 2/2 legendary creature. Dryad Detective. Whenever, it's got bunny or squirrel, bunny squirrel. Whenever a creature you control that was turned face up this turn deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Turn target face down attacking creature you control face up. So whenever a creature you control that was turned face up this turn deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay, so this is going to be running your the new cards in this set, or the new abilities in this set. It's from that, I believe it's from that Commander deck, the face down Commander deck, where the whole idea is, my cat's playing with something there, where the whole idea is casting cards face down. So you have, what's the ability called? Give me 1 second. The ability is called Disguise. Just had to look that up. So Disguise allows you to cast a creature face down for 2 mana. Is that what it says? Of course, it doesn't want to. And this one's not going to read, is it? Nope, it's just going to Disguise. I believe it's 2 mana. I'll be right back. Well, it's 3 mana. So Disguise allows you to cast a creature face down for 3 mana. And then you can pay for 3 mana. It's a 2/2 colorless creature with ward 2. And then you can flip it face up as long as it's a creature for its mana cost, or for its disguise cost, I guess. Then you have one other new one here. There's not a lot of cards that have it, and it's the other ability is Cloak. Cloak allows you to cast or put a card from the top of your deck or your hand, wherever it specifies, onto the field face down. Again, 2/2 colorless creature with ward 2. And you can flip that card as long as it, or for its mana cost, as long as it's a creature. So that's the Cloak, not to be confused with Disguise, where Disguise has a payment cost that you pay to flip it. It is literally just rebranded Manifest and is literally just a reskinned Manifest / Morph. So again, because these abilities, there's too many to remember, guys. The face down abilities in this game, the old ones are Manifest and Morph. Morph having a morph cost after you cast it, costing 3 to cast it. It's a 2/2, no ward. You can flip it for its morph cost at any time, at instant speed. And manifests depending on where it selects, top of your deck, top of your opponent's decks, graveyards, hands. It chooses a section. You get the card face down. It's a 2/2. And then you can flip it face up for its mana cost if it's a creature. Then you have Disguise and Cloak. Disguise is the same thing as Morph, except the creature has ward 2, and Cloak is the same thing as Manifest, except it has ward 2. So they're just better versions. You want to run a bunch of those in this deck. That is like literally the entire point of this deck, and Kitty Cat Break. Yeah, that's the entire point of this deck, is just to run these things that allow you to do all that stuff, because being able to do that stuff will get you those cards coming in face down, or any other card that does that type of thing, will allow you to just swing in, tap your Coust, eyes of the glade, yeah, your Coust, and flip one of them face up. The cool thing about this is whichever one they're not blocking, it's almost like a game of guess. Guess which one of my tutus is actually dangerous. You chose the wrong one. Flip, this is my 12-12. And guess what? I'm going to draw a card. You can also just pay their morph costs or their disguise costs normally and flip them and still get the draw off of Coust. So it really helps you cheat mana because, like, if you're paying 3 for a morph or disguise card and the card actually costs 12, well, now you, or not 12, but like 5, you cheated. So it's cool. I think it's interesting. You'll probably see this if anyone likes that mechanic. In any deck that's running those cards, like face down cards, and these colors, you'll probably see this card in the deck as a draw power engine. Marco, Observer Theorist, much more popular commander here. 1 blue-black for a 1/3 legendary creature, Vampire Detective. Flying Vigilance. Whenever you surveil, put a 1/1 counter on Marco, Obsessive Theorist. It's obsessive. At the beginning of your end step, you may return target creature card with power less than Marco's from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. I love Marco. I believe this is Marco Vosk. He's one of my favorite characters from Magic's past. This is a very interesting build for him, like a design for his creature. So first off, a 1/3 with Flying and Vigilance is great. You're going to be able to hit people. Vigilance means you can block. As a 1/3 flyer, you can block any of their small little flyers, at least one of them. The other neat thing is because it has evasion, putting any of those blue cards, blue auras that draw you cards whenever you deal damage or combat damage, like Curiosity, really good. And any of those abilities that, or any of the cards that draw you cards whenever you deal damage to an opponent, like Bident of Thassa or Trident of Thassa, stuff like that, great in this deck because you're going to be at least drawing one off Marco. Whenever you surveil, you put a 1/1 counter on Marco, Obsessive Theorist. And at the beginning of your end step, you may return target creature card with power less than Marco's from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. So there are 2 major builds with this deck that I've noticed. You've got your fun build, and then you've got your higher CDH build. I'm not saying it's tournament viable. I'm just saying there is a higher CDH build with this deck. That one simply is just mill your deck. You just need to surveil once. Because as long as you can, it's not even mill your deck. Your goal is to get Thassa's Oracle in your graveyard, and then at the end step, return it with Marco. It's a 2-drop, so, it's a 1/1 or a 1/2 or something like that. Its power's 1, so you just need Marco to have 1 more because it's got to have less power. So as long as you surveilled once or buffed Marco somehow, you can just return it, and then you can, in response to the ETB, cast your Demonic Consultation or the other one. The fun version of this deck, you just shove surveil cards in your deck and some powerful creatures you can return and stuff to protect Marco. It's fun. It's interesting. It can be very grindy. Dimir is my favorite color pairing. Black is my favorite color in the wheel, and blue is my least favorite color, and somehow Dimir is my favorite. So, go figure. I really like this guy. In the 99, I'd toss him in any surveil deck. If you're running a surveil deck, toss him in there. If you're running a 0 power deck, toss him in there. This guy's great in defender decks that's running black. Good, I don't know, 5 color, some weird one that's running blue black. That it's kind of cool because you can just return the 0 power defenders back to your field. So in the 99 of a defender deck, this is great. You can also build this as a defender deck and run the god that allows you to tap them to mill people. Yeah, Marco Obsessive Theorist Defenders. Take a look at that idea. Maybe I'll build that deck. Next we got Murska Undersea Sleuth. This is a green, a white, and a blue for a 2/3 legendary creature, Vidalcan Fish Detective. I love the look of it. It's such a great magic art there. These are all great magic arts. 2/3. You have no maximum hand size. I already like that. That's just generically decent. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate. Okay. Slow game. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a 1/1 counter on Marska Undersea Sleuth. Okay, Morska, Undersea Sleuth. So this is a slow burn deck. I mean, like, not a burn deck, but, like, yeah, it's a slow control deck, okay? The goal here is simple. You want to get them big, slowly, on everyone's turn. So, investigating is easy, but honestly, any card that draws you cards when your opponents do stuff is great. Something like Library. I forget the name of the card. Ristic Study. I normally don't. I tell people just don't run Ristic Study. I don't think it's a good. I know it's a good card. I don't think it's a fun card to play against. But I do think it's very interesting in the ideas of this type of deck, where the drawing is part of your game plan. Oh, you cast a spell, I draw a card. Oh, you cast a spell, I draw a card, trigger. So stuff like that, this is where I'm okay with you playing it, because it makes sense in your deck, so go ahead and play it. Other than that, just clues. I mean, at the upkeep, you get 1 clue. So that means on your turn, as long as you crack the clue, you're drawing 2 cards. And that's 2 1/1 counters on him, which is great. But then you want clues on your opponents. But that's 2 clues per opponent. So that's 4 mana per rotation. Or per player. So that's 4, 4, 4, which is 12 mana. That's a lot. So just shove your deck full of clues if you want to, but just shove your deck full of anything that draws you cards on your opponent's turns. White and blue have a lot of those. Just a crap ton. If your opponent draws a card, you draw a card. Stuff like that. Run all of those, get him really big, give him protection because he's going to be a target, and then hit someone. Secondary, he has no evasion, so also give him evasion. Evasion and draw cards. In the 99, I think this is fine in any investigation deck that's running these Bant, because it's gonna just give you a investigation at your upkeep. Not bad. I like that. You can also double up the tokens that you're making here, which will help. But yeah, I think it's like a Bant control deck that wins with Morska. Let's go to Nelly, Borka, Impulsive Accuser. 2 red, white for a 2/4 legendary creature, human detective with vigilance. When Nelly, Borka, Impulsive Accuser attacks, suspend target creature, then goad all suspected creatures. When 1 or more creatures an opponent controls deals combat damage to 1 or more of your opponents, you and the controller of those creatures each draw a card. Okay, let's break this down. 2/4 with vigilance. Again, I like this. You're attacking. You can usually attack someone because you got that 4 toughness, and you can still block. When it attacks, you suspect target creature. So then goad all suspected creatures. A suspected creature has menace and can't be blocked, or it can't block. And goading a creature means it has to attack. So yes, you're tempted to target one of your opponent's creatures, but I'm telling you, maybe suspect Nelly. You already want to attack with a bunch, and giving it that menace is going to make it a lot harder for people to block it. So I would do that, but then you kind of lose the point of vigilance because it can't block anymore. So it's a toss-up in the air. Like, vigilance is pointless now, unless you give it equipment that allows it to tap. The second effect, though, whenever 1 or more creatures an opponent controls deals combat damage to 1 or more of your opponents, you and the controller of those creatures each draw a card. Mind you, they don't need to have suspend, or they do not have to be suspected or goaded to trigger this. So, you cast it on the field, you pass. Now, if this guy, the guy to your left, decides, I'm going to attack you or you, because when 1 or more creatures in opponent controls deal combat damage to 1 or more of your opponents, you and that player controls. So even if they attack both, you're just both drawing the card. Oh, I'm attacking you. They can even attack you. They can swing something at everyone. But as long as they attack your opponents and they deal damage to them, they're drawing a card, you're drawing a card. So they're going to hit each other. That's going to help lower their life. You're going to be drawing cards. They're going to be drawing cards. Everyone's happy. You attack, you suspect someone. Now that card's suspected, they can't block you. So you not only did you just have them attack that new creature they played, oh, it can't block Nelly. So they're going to take 2 damage from Nelly. And then that creature must attack an opponent that's not you. And since one or more creatures an opponent controls deals damage to one of your opponents. So you don't draw cards off an ally dealing damage, but you do suspect someone. Again, as soon as you suspect them on attack, they can't block with it. This is great. So if they think they're good with that one blocker, they're not. Doubling up these triggers is going to be great because getting 2 suspected creatures is great. All this goading going on, they're all attacking each other. The creatures attacking have menace, and the suspected creatures that their opponents have can't block. This means if you're like midway through the game and there's like a bunch of creatures on the field and half of them are suspected and they're goaded and they're attacking and they've got new creatures, like, as long as you can swing and suspect someone, right? Like your opponent's creatures that have to attack that have suspect, they have menace. So like the creatures they have that didn't attack but are suspected, all of a sudden like those creatures can't block the menace creature. So if they have like 5 creatures and 4 of them are suspected, they can't block with the one creature even though they have 5 creatures. It gets really out of control all over the place, forcing your opponents to hit each other, not letting them not hit each other. Buffing your opponent's creatures is going to be fun. I think it's a very fun deck. I think out of all of these, like, Kaust is like, okay, you want to play the flip ability. I get that. You want this. You know, you like that. Marco is this really cool, like, surveil deck that finally really cares about surveilling. Marska is just your good band control deck. Nelly is just fun. Suspect is fun. Goad is fun. Drawing cards is fun. Having your opponents draw cards can be fun. It's a very interesting deck, and I think people should see it, play it. In the 99, any deck that wants Suspect or Goad, this will be played in there. This forces a bunch of Goad, and then goading a creature who is suspected anyway is a good thing. So if your other commander goad stuff anyway, the fact that it's suspected is going to make it harder for your opponents to block it. Or make it not be able to block your opponent's goaded creatures. So this will see play there. Plus, that last ability is just good draw power in band, or in red-white. Boros. Okay, a few more commanders here, and then we'll get to the 99s. Duskana the Rage Mother. 2 red, green, white for a 5/5 legendary creature bear. I already love this creature, by the way. It's number 1 is cute because it's got those cute little bear cubs. Also, 3. So this is definitely me mum's a bear. So yeah, me mum's a bear. And the Dusk and the Rage Mother enters the battlefield. Draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, it gets +3 until end of turn. This is simple, like very simple. You literally just run 2/2s in your deck. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2. So you just get all those base power, toughness 2/2 creatures out, tokens that are 2/2s, any of them, great. And then when a creature you control with base power and toughness with 2/2 attacks, it gets +3. So you cast this as a finality, right? This is a win con in your command deck. Oh, I got 5 2/2s. Cast Duskin, draw 5 cards, swing with my 5 2/2s. They're all 5/5s now. And she's a 5/5, which is cool. I like that. I really like that. Okay, so the cool thing about Duskin, the Rage Mother, is it's just another interesting bear deck. Most normal bear type creatures are 2/2s in the first place. This isn't a bear deck, this is a magic definition of bear deck, which is a 2/2. So I like it. I think it's interesting to a point. This isn't doing much. This is just buffing your 2/2s and drawing your cards when it enters the battlefield. So flickering, it's great. Food chain would actually work with it because you can just cycle infinitely. Like infinitely cast Duskin as long as there's one creature on the field that's a 2/2 under your control. You'll just infinitely draw there. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. I don't think you'll see it in any other deck. Unless there's other decks that care about 2/2s. I don't think you'll see it there. But I do like it. I like what it's going for. I think it's interesting and fun. It's not the. I don't think it's the main commander of the flip deck, but the flip cards are all 2/2s. So like, I guess maybe if you're running a face down creature deck, you'll see it because it can come in for 2/2s. Or if you're running a creature deck in Naya plus that runs a bunch of creatures that make 2/2 tokens, right? Then you might go like, okay, well, I'm running a bunch of 2/2 tokens. I might as well cast this card, right? Why not? So that could be good. So that's really received in the 99. And the main deck, I think this card is a sleeper because you can run it, you can draw a lot of cards, you can hit a lot of people, and there's a lot of good cards that 2/2s. The other fun thing about this, like the other decks, I like decks that you can go like, oh yeah, we're going to see this a lot. Like, you're not going to see a lot of face down cards for much. When you do, you'll be like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, it's not in my colors. Surveil is not as well pushed as Scry, so you're not going to see it as much, but when you do, it'll be happy. Any cards that draw you extra will be good here. This is Bant Control. Good stuff. This one is just a creature in and out of itself. So, like, I don't think you're waiting for a lot of cards there. But Duskana, anytime there's a 2/2 that's dropped, you're like, oh, it's a Naya. I could put that in there. Oh, that can replace my crappy 2/2 that I just happen to run because it's a 2/2. That's where I like this. I like that a lot for this, okay? That it's very interesting. Yeah. Feather, Radiant Arbiter is cool. This is the next feather. So red, white, white for a 4/3 legendary creature, Angel. I love the art again. Super cool. Flying Lifelink. I already like that. You're hitting people, accident life gain. Always means something. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell that targets only Feather Radiant Arbiter, you may choose any number of other creatures that spell could target and pay 2 for each of those creatures. If you do, for each of those creatures, copy that spell, that copy targets that creature. Okay. Isn't that just like... There's other ones that do the same thing, although I guess those ones are instants and sorceries. So this one works with auras, which I like. I like that this works with auras. That's the one interesting thing about this commander, is that it works with auras. So I would run an aura deck that then copies the auras to each of the creatures, which could be useful. That's about it. I mean, yes, you can run like instants and sorceries that buff things, but like you don't want to run a bunch of tokens. This isn't like that goblin that does the same thing but doesn't cost you extra, where you're like, oh, +3/+3, or they all get +3/+3, and I draw a card. No, this is like, cast this cool aura on my commander, Eldrazi construct, and then pay 2 to put it on these other 2 creatures. Pay 4 to put it on these other 2 creatures. Now I've got 3 guys with Eldrazi construct on. So I'd run this as an aura deck. That's about where I stand with it. Yeah. And then if you're running an aura deck, I'd probably run this in the aura deck, because then you could just target Feather and then move it over to your commander and have like 2 big creatures, which I like. So if you're running an aura deck, I like this. I don't think I can think of much else. Let me check, actually. If we go to EDH Rec, what people are saying. Is it just auras? Yep, it's just auras. Okay. I was correct, guys. A little kitty cat I can't see. Here's my little kitty cat. Marvel Deep Operative. This is an octopus, so I love it. 3 blue, black for a 1/8 legendary creature, octopus rogue. When Marvel Deep Operative attacks, clash with the defending player. Each clashing player reveals the top card of their library, then puts that card on the top or bottom. A player wins if their card had the higher mana value. When you win a clash... Oh, little Kippy Cap, you're out of water. I gotta feed my Kippy Cap. She's very good at reminding me when I need to give her water or food, because she meows. Then I'm like, oh, you need stuff. I go do it. I check every night, but the water's see-through, so sometimes I don't notice it. But she's got water now. She's good. Yeah, so when you clash, draw a card, then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value 8 or less without paying its mana cost. Okay. So you fill your deck with very expensive cards. Yep, that's the deck. I mean, I like it. It's a rogue octopus. An octopus rogue. It's got a dagger, guys. I like it. Marvo, deep operative. Get it? Because it's deep. Yeah, I genuinely enjoy this commander. I think it's interesting. I like clashing with guys. So as long as your deck is filled with very expensive cards that you're planning on cheating out with Marvo, and then, yes, you're going to have to run some cards, and you might hit lands, but scry. Lots of scry, lots of maneuvering the top card of your library. Like, top is a card that I don't normally like people running because it slows the game down, but in this deck, it makes sense where you can just top and go, this is the card I want. It's a 1/8, so it's probably not going to die when you attack, or at least there's going to be someone available. So, yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. It's fun. 99, yeah, I could see this in the 99. Any deck that's running a bunch of expensive cards and wants to cheat them out, Marvel can do that. So, you'll see that there. Sophia, Dogged Detective. One green, white, blue for a 3/4 human detective. When Sophia, Dog Detective, enters the battlefield, create Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green dog detective creature with trample. Pay 1, sacrifice an artifact token, put a 1/1 counter on each dog you control. Whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, create a food token, then investigate. Oh, okay. So your tiny dog goes in and hits someone. Boom, you got hit. Right? Because you got her out fast, someone was open the following turn. Then you make a food, and then you investigate. So you got 2 things. Now the next turn you can sacrifice them and put a 1/1 counter on each dog you control. So yeah, this is just a dog deck, guys. We have a dog deck. Are there good dogs? No, there's no good dogs. I challenge you to point out like an actual good dog creature. Maybe there's some in this deck, but yeah, no, it's not great. I'm not lying. Like, there's just not a lot of good dogs. You're probably gonna be running like changelings. There's probably better changelings in those colors than there are dogs. And maybe things that make dog tokens. So, but make the dogs big by sacrificing the things the dogs make. Because when a dog you control deals combat damage, so like if you deal 5 dogs deal combat damage, you're making 5 foods and 5 investigations. Then you can pay 10 and put 10 counters on them. And then the dogs or the changelings that are now dogs are doing the damage. So yeah, it's fun. I could see this in a deck. No, I don't think this will be in the 99 of anything. Maybe a dog deck later on in the future. Let's get to the 99. Few of these cards are the new ones, so we'll get through them. Armed with Proof. 2 and a white for an enchantment. When armed with proof enters the battlefield, investigate twice. Clues you control are equipment in addition to their other... I think this is one of the new ones, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm right. Yep. So, yeah. I mean, I don't think this will see play in Pauper. But it's not bad. Like, making clues equipment is interesting, and you investigate twice, so you get 2 equipments that buff stuff. If you're running an investigation deck or a flicker deck, this could work. Gives you some draw, gives you some ways to buff things. Weirdly enough, if you're making a lot of clues, this can be a win con, which isn't a bad idea. Immortal Obligation is an instant, 1 and a white for an instant. Return target creature card from an opponent's graveyard to the battlefield under their control with a duty counter on it. For as long as that creature has a duty counter on it, it is goaded. Can't attack you or permanents you control, and can't block creatures you control. Okay, yeah, this will just be in a deck that you're only gonna see this in Commander, and even then, I don't love it. Goated Commander, I guess. Merchant of Truth, 2 and 2 white for a 2/5 Angel Detective with flying. When a non-token creature you control dies, investigate. Clues you control have exalted. This I could see playing in like a clue-based pauper deck. It's a 4-drop. When a non-token creature dies, you investigate, and then clues you control have exalted. That's the win con there. This is a 2/5. If you've got like 5 clues, when it attacks, this is a 7/5. So that's something I've actually thought about trying to build. So I quite enjoy it in that regard. Other than that, like, yeah, if you're running a clue deck, it's similar to Armed with Proof. It can be a win con. making your commander just that big. Otherworldly Escort is 3 and a white for a 4/3 human detective with flash, and when it dies, if it's not a spirit, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with 4 charge counters on it. It's a spirit detective. For 1 and a white, you can tap it and remove a charge counter from him. Destroy a target creature that dealt damage to you this turn. This does a lot for 4 mana. Like, so it's got flash, so it can be a combat trick. It can block. If you just flash it in and block something that will kill it, it'll come back as a spirit detective that can then be tapped, removing a charge counter, and then popping something that dealt damage to you, which isn't bad this turn. So this does an absolute crap ton. I don't think it makes a place in like human decks in Pauper, but maybe it does a lot. Maybe spirit decks, maybe like a detective deck. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't care for it much in Commander. I think it's slow. Redemption Arc is 2 and a white for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchant creature has indestructible and is goaded. Exile enchanted creature. So this is cool because it's both offensive and defensive. You can put it on an opponent's creature, force them to goad. If it ever becomes a problem, you can just exile. So it's goaded. So and it's indestructible. So it's going to hit your opponents. They can't kill it. It's a problem all of a sudden, right? You can use this as removal for 5. Just 3 to enchant someone, and then 2 to kill it, to exile it. And then you can also just put it on your creature and have an indestructible creature. Yes, the indestructible creature must attack, but that doesn't matter. Like, this does a lot, and I really like it. I think it's very much a good card in Commander. Siren Sleuth is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human detective. When it enters the battlefield, you investigate. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, investigate for each goaded creature you control. Then each creature you control is no longer goaded. This is like a counter-goaded thing. Okay, cool. It investigates. That's kind of interesting, I guess. I don't know. Maybe. So I don't think it's great. Here, Trouble in Pairs, 2 and 2 white for an enchantment. Trouble in Pairs, I think is what it's supposed to be. Enchantment. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips next turn. That turn instead. When an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draw their second card, or attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. So this card is really goated as like a 4-drop. That extra turn stuff is not going to be seen. CEDH doesn't really run extra turns except for like 2 decks. Casuals don't really run extra turns because it's not fun. So intermediate and high powers will see that, stop them. But the main thing is that second ability. Whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, cool. If they're running attacks, you can draw some extra cards. That's good. Whenever they draw their second card each turn, that's going to happen a lot. Maybe even on your opponent's turns. That's going to be a lot of card draw. And whenever they cast their second spell each turn, which will happen a lot, you're drawing a card. And there's no limit. So this, I don't know why this is a common. This is absolutely fantastic. True Identity is 1 and a white for an enchantment. When True Identity or another permanent you control is turned face up, scry 1. Then, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Disguise 1. Okay, so like, yeah, if you're running a face down deck, you'll run this. That's about it. Unexplained Absence is 3 and a white for an instant. For each player, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls. For each permanent exile this way, its controller cloaks the top card of their library. So this is actually really funny, because not only is it grabbing a card that they all control, 1 non-land card that each player controls, but it's also cloaking the top card of each player's library, which for you, you're probably fine with it, but for them, they might be losing a good card that they needed. It's not a creature. They can't flip it. Now it's gone. So I think it's pretty good. Veiled Ascension. 3 and a white for an enchantment. When Veiled Ascension enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on each face-down creature you control. Face-down creatures you control into the battle with a flying counter. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cloak the top card of your library. This is just in a face-down creature deck. Again, moving on. Case of the Shifting Visage. 1 and 2 blue for an enchantment case. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Okay, so no matter what, you're surveilling. That's not bad. To solve 3, there are 15 or more cards in your graveyard. Okay, that'll just happen. Solved. Whenever you cast a non-legendary creature spell, copy that spell. Oh, that's great. I like this card. I like this card a lot. Any graveyard deck's going to run this card. This card is fantastic. A self-mill deck and pauper will like this card because you can get to 15 in your graveyard pretty fast, and then just copying your non-legendary creature spells you cast is gross. So I love this card so much in a self-mill deck and pauper or any graveyard-based shenanigans in Commander. Heck, even in like Vintage and Limited, or Vintage and the other one, I could see this being played. What's the other one called? Legacy, yeah. Even Vintage and Legacy, I could see this possibly being tested. Just because, like, okay, at your first upkeep, you're going to surveil 1. You can get to 15 cards in your graveyard super easily in Vintage and Legacy. And then your non-legendary creatures are copied permanently. That's just good. Copy catchers. 1 in a blue for a 2/1 fairy. When you surveil, you may pay 1 in a blue. If you do, create a token that's a copy of copy catchers. That's cool. It'll be played in surveil decks. That's about it. Again, if there's like a good surveil deck in Pauper, this will possibly see play. I mean, a 2/1 with flying, those are already great in Pauper. They can deal damage. They can block other flyers. This is great. And then if you're running a surveil deck, or I surveil, let's just pay 2 extra. Boom. Do it again. Boom. You can just like make a lot of these and just kind of take over the game. Making a deck around them is not a bad idea, especially with like Case of the Shifting Vistage. That's actually really good idea. I like that. Detective of the Month is 2 in a white, 2 in a blue for a 2/3 human detective with Ascend. So if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the Sitting's Blessing for the rest of the game. As long as you have the Sitting's Blessing, detectives you control can't be blocked. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. Again, if there's, I've said this before, if there's going to be a detective deck somewhere like in Pauper or like Pioneer, this is probably going to see it. You'll get to 10 pretty easily. Giving detectives can't be blocked is fantastic, even just on itself. And then drawing your second card each turn, because a lot of detectives give you clues, that's going to allow you to get more detectives that can't be blocked. So this will probably see play there. Final word, Phantom is 2 in a blue for a 1/4 spirit detective with flash and flying. During each opponent's instep, you may cast spells as though they had flash. That's interesting. I don't love it. I think it's fine. It's honestly probably better than I'm thinking. A 1/4 with flying isn't bad in Pauper. Flash is really good. And being able to flash this guy out and then another detective out, like Detective of the Month or something, is interesting. Both of them will be, like, this card's fine in Commander, and this card's actually pretty good in a detective deck of Commander. Follow the Bodies is 2 in a blue for a sorcery with Gravestorm. When you cast a spell, copy it for each permanent put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn. Investigate. So, like, if you're running an Investigate deck, this is fine. It has to go from a permanent from your field to the graveyard, so that's problematic there. But if you can, like, sack a few things, or, because this counts as tokens, do see the graveyard, so it does trigger Gravestorm. If you've got a bunch of treasures, you can sack by its treasures and then Gravestorm, which is not bad. So I like this in like a treasure-based deck or any like sack deck that's like sacking a bunch of treasure creatures and stuff. Tangle Trove Kelp is 5 and 2 blue for a 6/6 Clue Plant. Artifact creature Clue Plant with Ward 2. At the beginning of each combat, other clues you control become 6/6 plant creatures in addition to their other types until their turn. Pay 2, sacrifice Tangle Grove Kelp, draw a card. Again, any clue deck. This is just another win con for clue decks. Get it back from your graveyard. Boom. All your clues are 6/6 plant creature tokens. If they've already been on the field, they don't have summoning sickness. If you got like 5 clues, that's 5 6/6s. Okay. This is also really good in a self-mill Pauper deck where this card comes out, where you're running clues and you're just holding up on the clues, and oh look, I've got like 3 or 4 clues, and now I've got like 4 6/6s plus it. But this one's got summoning sickness. But the other ones are 6/6s, and I can just swing 4 6/6s at you. That's a win con. Watcher of Hours is 5 and a blue for a 6/6 Sphinx. Flying, Ward 3. Whenever you remove a time counter from Watcher of Hours, while it's exiled, surveil 1. Again, this is actually really good in a surveil deck. Any surveil deck. Because it'll eventually hit the field as a 6/6 with flying in Ward 6. Or Ward 3. And in Pauper, that's just, yeah, good luck killing it. It's scary. It's big. Control deck, dude. Like, I'm literally looking at like a Surveil Clue or Surveil Control deck in Pauper here. Channel Serenade. 4 and 2 black for a sorcery, Surveil 3. Then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Exile this card with 3 time counters on it. Oh, I love that it's doing that thing. So you can cast it for 2 and a black, and then in 3 turns, you Surveil 3, return a creature with a finality counter, and then suspend it again. Again, this is just good in a Surveil deck in Pauper. Blue-black control. Eye Dusk Mantle is 5 and 2 black for a 3/8 creature eye with flying and lifelink. And you may play lands and cast spells from among cards in your graveyard. You've surveilled this turn. If you cast a spell this way, you pay a life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. That's just strong in any Surveil deck. Again, very good for Surveil decks. Lots of good cards coming in for Surveil. I don't know if it hits Pauper, though. Because I'd rather, like... Well, I mean, you could cheat it out pretty easily. Yeah. Cheat it out with something like this. And then, like, the next time you Surveil, you can get it out. You can get one for free, and then the 3 cards you Surveil, you can cast with life. Maybe. Foreboding Steamboat is 3 and 2 black for a 5/7 vehicle. When it enters the battlefield, each player chooses 2 non-token, non-vehicle creatures they control. Exile them until Foreboding Sailboat leaves the battlefield. When it attacks, put a card exiled with it into its owner's graveyard. If you do, investigate. I think it's slow. I don't love it. I've never been a huge fan of vehicles. I don't think it does enough. I mean, like, you exile 2 non-token, non-vehicle creatures they control for each opponent. So that's like 6 cards you're removing. So maybe it's worth it as a removal spell. And then Unshakable Tail, 2 and a black for a 3/2 zombie creature detective. Zombie detective. And when it enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, you Surveil 1. And whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, you investigate. Investigate? Yeah, you investigate. Okay, yeah. So you get clues by surveilling. And then sacrifice a clue and you can turn it from your graveyard to your hand. I like this. I actually like this a lot. I think it's really good. I really think there's some type of Surveil deck going in Pauper that I'm going to look at. Anyway, and again, all these Surveil cards are just good in any commander deck that likes Surveil. Bolt Bender is 3 and a red for a 4/2 Goblin Wizard with Disguise 1 and a red. When Bolt Bender is turned face up, you may choose new targets for any number of other spells and or abilities. That's interesting. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I like this in like high power where like if there's like a thing going on, you can just flip Bolt Bender and like choose wherever thing's going. That's kind of fun. Otherwise, like just as a 1-for-1, if someone goes to kill something on yours, you can flip this guy for 2 and go no. Havoc Eater is an elemental, 5 and 2 red for a 3/3 elemental with flying. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent, go up to 1 target creature that player controls, put extra 1 counters on Havoc Eater, where extra the total power of creatures go this way. That's good. This is good in any goat deck, or any big power creature deck, 1/1 counter decks. Hot Pursuit is 1 and a red for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, suspect target creature and opponent controls. As long as Hot Pursuit remains on the battlefield, that creature is also goaded. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if 2 or more players have lost the game, gain control of all goaded and or suspected creatures until end of turn. Untap them, they gain haste until end of turn. That's fun. So this is like, Hot Pursuit is just like sitting there. Enters the battlefield, suspect target creature and opponent controls. As long as it remains on the battlefield, that creature is also goaded. And like you just like keep playing the game, and then like because you're running the one commander who any goat commander honestly, or suspect commander, like this all of a sudden just goes boom. Check this out, all your stuff, mine, because those guys are dead. I win. Mob Verdict is 2 and 2 red for a sorcery with Secret Council. Each player secretly votes for another player. Then those votes are revealed. For each vote an opponent received, Mob Verdict deals 2 damage to that player and each creature that player controls. For each vote you receive, draw a card. Okay, so like 4 players, you vote for yourself because you want to draw a card. This guy votes for him because they don't want you drawing a card, right? So he's like, I'm going to vote for you, I'm going to vote for you. He votes for them. That's 2, that's 2 damage to them, 4 damage to you, and you draw a card. It's okay. Prisoner's Dilemma, 3 and 2 red for a sorcery. Each opponent secretly chooses Silence or Snatch. Then the choices are revealed. If each opponent chose silent, Prisoner of Dilemma deals 4 damage to each of them. If each opponent chose Snitch, Prisoner's Dilemma deals 8 damage to each of them. Otherwise, Prisoner's Dilemma deals 12 damage to each opponent who chose Silence. Flashback. Okay, this is fun. So, you cast it. Silence or Snitch. If each opponent chose Silence, Prisoner's Dilemma deals 4 damage to each of them. If each opponent chooses Snitch, Prisoner's Dilemma deals 8 damage to them. Otherwise, Prisoner's Dilemma deals 12 damage to each opponent who chose Silence. So this is fun. So it's secret. That's the important thing. If you're all like, okay, nod, we're all just choosing Silence, right? We're just going to take 4 damage and move on with it. That's how this is going to work. But if they're actually secretly doing it, they might be like, well, I could choose Snitch. If I chose Snitch, then they would take 12. I would take 0. I want to choose Snitch. But then that guy over there's like, I'm going to choose Snitch. And this guy's taking 12. Or they all go, take more damage. We're going to choose Snitch because we want them to take more damage. Then all of a sudden, like, they all chose Snitch and took 8 damage. I still think they're all just going to nod and take 4. Oh, that was secret. So you need one person just to break the rules to have 2 people take 12. So that's not bad. Okay. Show-stopping surprise. 3 and 2 red for an instant. Choose target creature you control. Turn it face up. If it's face down, then it deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. It's fine. It's good on any commander deck that has a really big creature. Tasik Judith Hellhound. This is a legendary creature. I like that. This is Judith's card. So, I like that. Okay. We got a common legendary. Wait, is that actually a freaking common? No, it's a rare. Why are they showing common symbols? Okay, most of these are probably rares then. Am I right? Or is this a rare? Yeah, this is a rare. None of these guys are actually viable in Pauper. Dude, like, you can't... I guess those are rare. My bad, guys. I was hoping this would be possible in the Pauper deck. But it's not. Because they're rares, but you can't tell because the freaking card is like 90% black. Ugh. That's just saddening, guys. These were super cool cards for Pauper. Yeah, rare cards. Yeah, talked about them for a while. Again, if you want to come here and tell me that you can tell that this is not a, like, looking at this, like, let's see. Maybe I can make out that that's not a common. Maybe. That's a big maybe, though. I gotta refresh. There we go. So I guess these are rares. So they can't be ran in Pauper, which is annoying and sad. But, we'll move on from that. I apologize for wasting your guys' time with those Pauper cards that aren't Pauper cards. These guys just all look like common color in the distance. Who knew? Probably everyone but me. Tasik Judith's Hellhound is 3 in a red for a 3/3 legendary creature elemental dog with Unleash. So when you may have this creature enter with the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. It can't block as long as it has a 1/1 counter on it. Other dogs you control have Unleash. Creatures you control with counters on them have haste. When Tasik Judith's Hellhound attacks, add a red for each attacking creature. Okay. So you're going to look at this card and go, oh, you're just going to run dogs. But, like, as a commander, there's probably not a lot of mono-red dogs, so you probably aren't. What you're doing is you're running a lot of, like, creatures that like 1/1 counters, and just getting a lot of big reds and casting X spells, probably. You'll run this in any dog deck, probably. Other dogs you control have Unleash. That's cool. I think I like this a lot in Cat Dog because the cats make dogs and those dogs will have Unleash because it doesn't say non-token. And Unleash isn't on cast. So That's cool. I don't mind that. This card coming as a 4/4 with haste is pretty cool. So I enjoy this. I think it's a fun commander. I don't think it's going to be great, though. And then we get to the green. Experiment 12 is 3 and a green for a 4/4 elf lizard warrior with trample. And when it or another creature you control is turned face up, put a 1/1 counter on that creature equal to its power. Disguise. Okay, this is good. This is actually really strong as a disguise deck, a flip deck. Like, you're going to get a lot out of this, being able to flip it and go, oh, look, this is now an 8/8. And then any other thing being flipped is going to get really big. So that's super good in any flip deck. The only place it's going to be played. Innocence Researcher is... Innocuous Researcher is 3 and a green for a 3/4 Centaur Detective. Parlay. Whenever Innocence Researcher attacks, each player reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, you investigate. Then each player draws a card. Okay. Then each player... Okay, so as long as they reveal non-land, you get investigate. So that's up to 4 investigations, 4 clue tokens. At the beginning of your end step, you may untap all lands you control. If you do, you can't cast spells until your next turn. Okay, you can't cast spells, but you can activate abilities, so you're going to crack the clues. So, as long as you've got nothing to do, it's okay. I don't love it. I think it's fine. Any deck that really needs draw, this could be useful. On the Trail is 1 in a green for an enchantment. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. This is just going to be in a lot of decks. Any deck that's in green, that wants land drop, that draws, so like, probably, I mean, yeah, green can draw a lot of cards nowadays, so, yeah, this is just a good card. Good land drop. Print Lifter Ooze is, Print Lifter, I gotcha. 1 in a green for 2/2 Ooze with Death Touch, and when it or another creature you control is turned face up, create a 0/0 green Ooze creature token with trample. Then, the token enters the battlefield with X1 counters on it, where X is the number of other creatures you control. This is going to be in flip decks. That's it. Okay, few last cards here. We've got Counterpoint, 3 blue, black for an instant. Counter target spell. You may cast a creature, instant, sorcery, or planeswalker spell from your graveyard with mana value less than or equal to that spell's mana value without paying its mana cost. Cool, that's fine. Like, it's probably good. I just don't like how expensive it is. Knowledge is power, 3 white, blue for an enchantment. Creatures you control get +X, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn. That's a good way to win a game. That's just interesting. And it's an enchantment, so you can just sit on the field in the next turn and just draw a bunch of cards. Just like, oh, draw 10. Oh, look at this. I win. And then take the bait, 2 red, white. This is funny. Aaron used it in Game Grumps. Cast a spell only during an opponent's turn and only during combat. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn. Untap all attacking creatures and goad them. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So this is fun because, like, if someone went to Alpha Strike you, you can just go, no. Go attack them. Which protects you. Like, yeah, you're just protected. The thing is it prevents combat damage to you and planeswalkers you control, not your creature. So you could choose to block and then cast this and still deal damage to some of them. I don't know. It's just it's a fog that with extra steps in a good way. Panoptic Projector, 4 for an artifact. The next face down creature you cast this turn costs 3 less to cast. Okay, so you can cast it for free. If turning a face down permanent face up causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional turn. Again, this is just for face down decks. But I like that we're getting a lot of cards for face down decks, because there's a lot of commanders out there that like face down cards that just were never used because we didn't have enough. And now we probably do for any of them. Ransom Note is 1. Is this a new card? No, this is, oh yeah, this is in Commander, okay. So Ransom Note is 1 for an artifact clue. When it enters the battlefield, you surveil 1. And then pay 2, sacrifice it, choose 1. Cloak the top card of your library, go target creature, draw a card. This is in all of them, because I think this is telling you more of the story somehow. Ugin's Mastery, I think, yeah, this is a reprint. So from there, the rest are all reprints that are cool. Is that supposed to be a common? No, that's a rare. What does the common symbol look like? Like, maybe they're all rares, and so they're just That's a mythic, right? Yep, that's a mythic. You can kind of tell. I'm literally like just curious. Is this a rare? Okay. Do we have a common in this set? You're silver? Uncommon. Okay. I guess I can tell that. Do we have a common? I literally... You're an uncommon, right? No, you're a rare. Wow. Man, this is just... Okay, maybe here? I don't know if they give us comments. I don't know. Regardless, there's a lot of cool new cards in this set. In my honest opinion, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck if you like the commanders. And that's what I'm going to preference. If any of these, again, you get 2, which is something I like. You can choose which one you want to play. If you like any of them, buying that commander deck will be fine. You'll really get some play out of it. If you want to build a face down deck, this is going to give you all the face down cards you need, and then you can just modify it. If you want to run a bear deck, you can, like a 2/2 creature deck, you can get this here. The issue with that is like you're with like Duskin, like worth to buy. Sophia versus Sophia and Mosca. This is the investigator detective deck that likes detectives and investigations. This is a dog commander. You're not going to get a lot of dogs in there. I mean, there are probably some dogs that you're running, but you're probably running. This is the main one, I believe. So that, you're playing clues. Neither of them are really worth buying. I don't think it's worth buying, mainly because like there's other commanders you could run. Like Koust makes sense if you want to run flip cards. You're not going to get bears off of her. She's there because his face down cards are 2/2s. Nelly is probably worth buying because it's just an interesting commander. Marco will have a lot of good surveillance stuff for you in the future, so I like that. So, make your decisions. Buy what you think is fun. Don't look for monetary value. I never tell people to look for monetary value when you're buying Magic cards. The goal for me is just to have fun. So if one of these commander decks looks fun to you, go ahead and buy it. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Don't forget to like and subscribe. More commander and just in general Magic content will come. And I try to stream on Mondays and Fridays when I'm not busy over on my Twitch channel. Same name as my YouTube channel. Peace.